Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to the Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast with PJ and Mike. Now find yourself a seat at their table.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast with PJ and Mike. I'm PJ.
And I'm Mike.
And today is a listener request episode. Just a backstory. The other day I was in the shop and one of our regular customers came in and we started talking about how I don't like children in movies and kids in movies because I just find it a little lame and a little far-fetched that kids would be in certain situations that they get put in.
Always feel very forced in.
Right, exactly. And he came up with the idea. He's like, well, you should do an episode about kid sidekicks, teenage sidekicks with superheroes and stuff. And I thought that was actually a pretty good idea. We tweaked it a little bit, and we're going to be doing the best and worst sidekicks in all media. So not necessarily just kids, not necessarily just comic books, but the idea came out of a conversation we had from one of our listeners that shops at the comic book store. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to list our top few favorite and top few least favorite sidekicks.
Yeah, and then at the end, folks, we're going to do the top 5 best and top 5 worst sidekicks of all time.
Yeah, combined from our list. We'll pick from our list who we think the best are. And I have a feeling some of them might be duplicates on each of our lists, but
yeah.
Yep.
I try to do a little variety.
Too, yeah. Not just, I know people probably expect me to do mostly comic books. I do have some comic book heroes in there, but I also have movies and TV shows and some other things.
Yeah. And like I said, I was telling TJ, folks, I was actually having a hard time, like, okay, who's a true sidekick? You know, who's not really, who's like a team, kind of like, I don't consider like Doc Brown from Back to the Future to be really a sidekick. So, but yeah, I'm really excited though. So, PJ, it's okay if I'll start off with this one.
Yeah, sure.
And this might be a blurry one. This might be, I'm not sure they're really considered a sidekick, but I think they are. So, it's one of my favorite movies of the 90s. It's Sandra Bullock as Annie Potter in Speed. To Keanu Reeves' hero. You know, I just felt like their chemistry was really great, and I feel like for a sidekick, you know, hey, she's useful, right? She drives the bus, right?
Yep.
I don't find her annoying. I actually find their love really genuine in that film. Like, you could definitely tell they're both attractive people. So it made it really, you know, believable. I just really like her, how she is in that film. I know she's, like I said, like a true sidekick, but if I had to pick one for like an action film that really like kind of works, where she's not irritating, she's useful, she's not just there. I mean, she's there to be pretty, of course, you know.
Yep.
But I find her, she's not just kind of like bumbling around. And
it helps that the script for that movie is so good.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, I think it's one of the best written movies out there, especially for like an action movie. It's just so good.
Yep, and one of the best things is, I think, if you're going to be a true sidekick, you have to get in trouble or get caught. So towards the end, she gets caught with Dennis Hopper, and Keanu has to save her. But yeah, I put Sandra Bullock in Speed as my first choice.
So for my first choice, I think it's a very obvious pick, and it's probably the best sidekick of all time. I picked Robin.
Yeah.
Right now,
she's one of my choices, and then there's another character who I think are the ultimate.
Yeah.
So when you think sidekick, you think Robin, no question.
Exactly. Now, like I said, I don't like. I'm going to start off with what I don't like about the character, but then I'll talk about what I do like about him. In theory, Robin is probably the worst character. In theory, because
I know you're going to say,
like, he's 10 years old. You know, when you first meet Dick Grayson as Robin, he ain't wearing pants. He's wearing like tight tights and pixie boots.
He always reminded me of like, he's like a Peter Pan kind of character. Yeah. You
know, Batman is in bulletproof suit. He's got like thick Kevlar armor. He's all dressed in black, so he hides into the shadows. And then you put this kid in bright red, yellow, and green. You can see him from a mile away. He's got no helmet. He's got a small mask that just covers. It seems like the worst idea. Right? So that's what I don't like about the origin of that character. But what I do like about that character is just how, and this is Dick Grayson's Robin specifically, not all Robins.
Yeah.
Just the growth he's had as a character in comic books. He starts off as a teenage sidekick, right? He's not even teenager. I think when you first meet him, he's younger than a teenage sidekick. Eventually grows to become a teenager, joins the Teen Titans, and leads the Teen Titans. Then while he's part of the Titans, he separates from Batman because he doesn't like the way Batman does certain things and handles certain things. winds up connecting with Superman, right? Learns from Superman how to, be more hopeful, be more positive, not the Batman way, and actually picks the name Nightwing based on a Kryptonian superhero that Superman teaches him about, right? So now there's a whole new layer of who this character is. Then from there, he gets his own city. He moves out of Gotham. Like in comic books, right? Everyone's always the same age forever, and there's character growth, but only to a point usually.
Yeah.
Because you need to keep these characters in the setting and the time that they're in, so that they last forever. You can't age them up. But I think Dick Grayson, of any superhero ever created, has had the most growth as a character. And it started off as him being the most famous sidekick. So I feel like you can't have a list of best sidekicks without Robin Dick Grayson.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Like you said, the transformation. And when you think sidekick, the first thing you think of is Robin. No way, Batman and Robin. That's the duo right there.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I put him on my list as the number one dude.
Right.
But PJ, I mean, I'll just cut to the chase. Who I think is the second best sidekick. I think you have him on your list too. Our boy Chewbacca.
I do have Chewie on my list. Yes.
I mean, another good dude, man. I know he only speaks in grunts, but he's another one. When you think of he's probably between Batman and Robin. I can't really think of another like true sidekick. And he's it. And what I like about him is when you think of sidekicks, you think of a kid, like a little kid. But Chewbacca's, I'm assuming he's a grown ass man.
Yeah, I think he's about 100 years old. Yeah.
So I mean, I just call he's a loyal. Your sidekicks always have the same characteristics. Loyal, useful.
Yeah. Useful.
Funny. Comic relief, kind of hard. They always kind of they're kind of like a really good bench coach to a manager. You know what I mean?
And it kind of grounds the hero a little bit.
Yeah, brings it back to reality.
Han Solo is probably the most cocky person in the galaxy, far, far away. But with Chewie, brings him back to reality.
Exactly.
It levels him off some of that cockiness, because Chewie can kind of get under his skin that in a way nobody else can.
Yep. And usually those characters don't really get along with anybody else, and they have that one person who just gets them. So I think for me, those two are the ultimate sidekicks: is Chewbacca and Robin. I mean, no question.
So, for my next one, this is a more modern character, because I mean, Robin was from the 40s. Chewie is from the first Star Wars movies, which is in the 70s. This is a more modern character coming from, I think, maybe the early 2000s, mid 2000s.
Oh, okay.
And it might be someone you have on your list. I don't know. I was thinking Donkey.
Yes, he's on my list.
I thought
from
he
Shrek,
might be.
folks.
From Shrek, yeah.
Yep.
Donkey's hysterical.
Oh yeah.
And Shrek is this ogre. He's serious. He's angry. He doesn't really care much about other people, but then he meets Donkey, and Donkey kind of brings it out of him, brings out the humanity in this ogre, and he's hysterical. He's loyal. Like you said, a sidekick has to be loyal. Donkey is always loyal. And when you watch those movies, Shrek is a hero in that movie, reluctantly, but he is, and everyone has these over-the-top personalities in that, but Donkey's relatable.
Yeah,
he's a relatable character, and movies that were introduced really within the last 20 some odd years, I think Donkey is more popular than Shrek, and he's the sidekick.
Yeah. I mean, he has his own little station in the Universal, the meet and greet kind of thing. No, I love Donkey. I mean, he has especially I know the first film the best, but just so many ones I like that bowler. That is a nice bowler.
That's a nice bowler.
I'm really curious if Eddie Murphy just improvised a lot, or I would just love to know, pick his brain. But I mean, so many lines, just
oh yeah,
I can keep going on and on and on. But yeah, I love
ogres like an onion. They got layers and all that. The movie is great. I mean, it's not.
I think we saw that together, right?
I think we did. Yeah, I'm almost certain we did. Yeah.
That was that's one of those movies you really feel the magic. I remember the first opening credits. I'm like, this is gonna be. You just knew. Yeah. You just felt it. You just felt the momentum. This movie's gonna crush. But I love Shrek. And PJ, I'll go to my other animated choice, who came probably 15 years earlier than that. Same characteristics. Genie from Aladdin. Same thing, loyal, funny. Like you say, it's like the sidekicks always kind of grand, like kind of like the moral compass, you know.
Yep.
Like they always have like nicknames like a big Olga or come on Al, you know, like you know, you feel like they could, like you said, they're so relatable, you know. And I mean, obviously Robin Williams just owning, you know, two comedians, obviously. So yeah, and the sidekick as when we get to our worst list, you know, the reason why these ones work, like we said, they're loyal. Obviously, they're well written. The performances are a big key, man. You know, it's a big key. I just wanted to talk about that because you know you can have something really kind of well written, but it doesn't work, you know, totally because of their performance. But yeah, I put I had I had Genie and Donkey. I put them side by side. Who else you got?
I
Some of your
have
favorites.
I put two more on my list.
Mm-hmm.
This is from a TV show, and I don't know if it counts as a sidekick, but I thought it does, so I went
Yeah.
with it. George Costanza.
Right. right.
So the show is Jerry's show, right?
Yep.
But
Mm-hmm.
Jerry is the straight man in that show, right? He's the one that's kind of not always cracking the
Yep.
jokes or whatever. And there's Kramer, and he's a goofball, but he's not always there. Like he comes in for a really
Yeah.
goofy scene and gone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Elaine, same thing. She was the
Yeah.
love interest in a couple of seasons or whatever, but not really a sidekick. When I think of Seinfeld and who he was with the most, it's George
Yeah.
Costanza.
That's his Chewbacca. No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know he's not a moral compass, but nobody in
No.
that show. He's almost
Yeah.
an immoral
Yeah.
compass.
Yeah.
Always giving a bad idea. Not the positive guy. It's the exact opposite of what you would expect, but
Mm-hmm.
it works so perfectly in that TV show. I mean, the conversations they have together. I just think
Yeah.
I don't think that show works without Jason Alexander in it
Yeah.
as George Costanza, and I don't think there's another person you could put in that spot that could play so well off of Seinfeld. So I know it might be a stretch, but I really think that was a good
Yeah.
1-2 punch with them.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, I love that choice. I picked another movie from mine. Like I said, like you said, it's difficult. You know, for me, I had a hard time finding my favorite one. So but I think for me, I always had like a soft spot for this character. In Die Hard, the first one, Officer Al Powell. So that's
That's
the father from
Reginald Val Johnson.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Carl Winslow. So, better known as Carl Winslow. But yeah, I just felt like he's another one where, useful. He has his own little arc in the film.
Yeah.
The first one. I found it good comic relief. And like I think a good thing with like all these characters too, like even like a George Costanza, like they're coming from like a good place, even though they might
right.
it might pull off, not come off completely right, but like him like getting really frustrated, him like afraid using his gun because he killed someone inadvertently, but yeah, I think he just plays off where you have Bruce Willis who's this cowboy, in the film, and then he kind of grounds him and like kind of gives him a chance to like kind of unwind for a second, and I think it's just great, and I really think I'm always surprised like that guy. Reginald Val Johnson, he didn't really like kind of explode at that because the guy was I think for me he was like him and Steve Urkel had amazing, Jaleel White had amazing comedic energy.
Right. Yeah.
They were like a great comic duos of like just always getting tangled up each other, like a Ralph Cranston and and Ed Norton or Laurel and Hardy just kind of just bumbling and getting into each other. But yeah, in Die Hard, like I said, he felt, I know he plays another cop, but he's like the great buddy. If you're in an action movie, you want your own, Officer Powell. Mm-hmm.
And then I had one more on my list of best sidekicks.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I went back to the well on this one. I did go back to comic books for this one. So far we've only really spoken about the hero or the main character of a thing. But the villains can also have a sidekick.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the Joker has one of the most iconic
sidekicks. I completely forgot about her.
Harley Quinn.
Yeah, she's definitely got to be up there. Isn't that amazing how in the Batman universe, the two best like sidekicks of all time are in that universe? You get what I'm saying? That's incredible. Talk about like, to me, it's like almost like destiny. But yeah, great choice, man. That was totally off my radar.
That's a character that started in the cartoon, started in the animated series.
Yeah.
And nobody would have expected her to be more than like the henchman of the episode.
Yeah.
And just caught everyone's imagination so much that they kept bringing her back, rewriting her into episodes, bringing her into the comic books, giving her own movie now.
Yep.
Her own TV show. She's, spun off into this anti-hero and this character unto herself and not just a sidekick anymore. But that only starts because of how great the origin is, being the Joker's girlfriend and the Joker's sidekick.
Yeah. No, PJ, that's a great choice, man. I'm sorry, I'm trying to Google something as well. About her, I can't find it. But I was going to say, oh yeah, she came in the 90s. What am I thinking about?
Probably like 92, 93, I think, around there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that was a great choice, man, for sure. Mm-hmm. Like you said, in terms of villains, and I'll do kind of my quick honorable mentions. Not to really deep dive, but in terms of just other villains, sidekicks, Iago from Aladdin.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how much did you hate that guy? Obviously, Gilbert Gottfried doing that voice.
Great.
You hated that bird, man. Oh my god. I also I think you're gonna like this choice, PJ. Now they were definitely a sidekick. It's like a show within a show with Al Borland from Home Improvement.
Oh yeah,
great. And he was like, and it's funny because Al was actually more the straight guy, and Tim Allen was more of the goofball. Yep. So and Al, I always love those scenes, like when doing Tool Time, and the big reason why those scenes work is all of Al Borland. As much as seeing him get
hear him in my head. I don't think so, Tim.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I have Al Borland there. I also put this is just a totally different type of media. I put Robin Quivers, Howard Stern's buddy.
Oh yeah.
I love Robin, and I think she's really. I think we in our episode like Best Comedians. I know she doesn't have a stand-up special, but Robin is special. Like as a person, she's funny. She can hang with the guys. You can hang out with Howard Stern. She has. You got to be cool. And I love Robin.
She adds so much, especially during like the heyday or the prime of the Stern show. I don't listen to it anymore. I don't have Sirius in my car anymore. But I mean, for years, I would listen to it on the way to school, on the way to work, and she added so much. So much.
Mm-hmm. And she she helped ground the show. And even if the show got totally ridiculous, and she would laugh, it almost made you feel like, okay, it's okay to laugh at this. Like she knows this is just comedy, folks. Like we can't take this seriously. This ain't the kind of show.
And
if you're listening to this,
and like the best
some
sidekicks,
kind of moral,
the best sidekick, she's the only person that could really call out Howard on that show. The same way Robin's the only person calling out Batman. Like it's fun. They're both Robin, two Robins.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And my last pick, PJ, this one's definitely more new school. I'm not really sure if you would call him I guess he's the sidekick to, I guess, a villain. I guess it would be Aaron Paul's Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad.
Okay, I've never watched Breaking Bad, so I don't know anything about it.
It's an amazing. It's in my opinion.
But everyone says
it's the best written show of all time. You might prefer like Sopranos or for subject matter, but in terms of just straight up fucking writing, Breaking Bad I thought is like amazing. And Jesse Pinkman, that character, he's what makes his arc so interesting, because I guess how the show starts. I'm not gonna give you a whole synopsis, but basically, Walter White. Oh my God, what's his actor's name? I'm drawing a blank. Brian. Thank you. Yep. He kind of starts off, let's say, like a good guy who turns to a life of crime because he ends up getting cancer and he decides to sell drugs to, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he gets Jesse Pinkman, his former student, to help him do this. And, initially you kind of think Jesse's kind of like slimy because he's already kind of doing it. And then he joins forces with Walter White. But as the show goes on, Jesse is a loyal sidekick, and actually in a weird way they almost become each other's sidekick in a strange way. But Jesse Pinkman is definitely definitely followed Robin's. I wouldn't be surprised if Robin was an inspiration for Jesse, because later on the show he kind of goes his own way. That's
Right.
not really a spoiler or anything. You kind of see it coming from early on. So, but yeah, Jesse Pinkman I gotta put up there. So yeah. So yeah, I think those are our best, right, PJ? Our best sidekicks.
I think those are the best ones. Yeah.
Right.
A couple honorable mentions I didn't really have too much for, but I can't actually think of his name. It just popped into my head. Conan O'Brien. What the hell is that dude's name? Andy. I can't think of his last name.
I just know him as Andy. Yep.
Yeah. I thought he was great as like a
late
sidekick, late night sidekick. I
he's
thought
definitely probably the best one. Usually have the band leader. I always hated that. I always got bored with that.
But anyway, I just thought of him as an honorable mention, as someone in a different capacity. He's definitely a good sidekick.
Yep. And folks, these are our choices. Well, a lot of these are like our favorites. And of course, we're trying to be objectively. I think the most objective ones is probably Rob and Chewbacca. Without a doubt. But yeah, so maybe you have your own favorites. Let us know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or Instagram. Let us know. But now, PJ, I think you had a difficult time picking the worst.
Yeah, I found the worst to be a harder list than the best, but my number one worst was pretty easy. The rest where it got tricky.
Okay, what's your number one?
Scrappy Doo.
He's on my list.
Is he really?
I hate him. He's on my number one. I hate him too.
Hate him. Adds nothing to that show. I mean, really, literally adds nothing to Scooby-Doo.
Right, yeah. So, folks, that was Scooby-Doo's, I guess, his little cousin or whatever, his little brother. But he was so irritating, man. I used to not watch the show because...
and if it was a Scrappy episode, I wouldn't even bother putting it on. Like, I don't want to listen to him. I don't know if it was supposed to be like for kids, but the show is a cartoon. It's already for kids. Yeah. And then I don't understand, like, all the other dogs. Like, Scooby doesn't really talk. He talks, but he doesn't. This guy just talks. It makes no sense. He's annoying. Adds no value. He's never really the reason they find who the villain is.
Yeah.
What they did to him in the movie was a waste of time. I don't know if you remember in the movie, they make him the villain.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's just everything about Scrappy Doo, waste of time. One of the worst characters ever created, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know, like you said. And did he debut in the Scooby-Doo Kids? I'm trying to think.
I don't remember which. It wasn't pup named Scooby-Doo. No.
Oh, okay, right.
He was on, I think, in just regular...
The episodes?
Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Yeah, just regular Scooby-Doo.
I used to turn it off whenever I saw
that. Oh, he was the worst.
Unbearable. For me, I'll just start off with this choice. I just never found this guy, like, I think he's fun. I think he's funny. I just never found him hysterical. And Adam Carolla. He was on The Man Show.
With Jimmy Kimmel.
Then he had I think it was called Hotline, Sex Line. With,
what the hell was the name of that show?
With Dr. Drew.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of the show. Was it Hotline or something like that?
Love Line. Was it Love Line?
That's what it was. Yep.
Finally. But yeah, I just feel like, I think someone said, I think the joke with him, like, I didn't come up with this. It was like the poor man's version of Norm Macdonald, something with like his delivery or, but yeah, I just don't, I think some of the stuff he said has been funny, like on those shows. I know I'm putting him on the worst because I know I'm almost sticking up for the guy in a weird way, but just something about him is like, I don't think he doesn't work as a sidekick, and he also doesn't work as the main event. Yeah.
He's I don't find him that funny. He has one of the longest running podcasts of like all time. I've never even listened to an episode. I don't even care about it.
Yeah, like he has no interesting stories. Like his guests are interesting. His Jim Carrey on there and all that kind of stuff. But I have no he doesn't turn me on or anything like that. Yeah, so I put Adam Carolla.
All right. Another one that I have on my list, back to the superheroes, is Bucky.
Oh, yep.
Captain America's sidekick.
Yep.
Here's my issue. I don't think the character is a bad character, especially what they did with him when they brought him back as the Winter Soldier becomes great. Yeah. The problem is, it doesn't make sense that he's Captain America's sidekick. Captain America is in his like early 20s.
Yeah.
By the time he's Captain America. Bucky can't be in the army until he's 18. They're relatively the same age. They're both just soldiers. And his whole thing is what? I'm just a soldier that hangs out with another soldier.
Yeah,
and then he dies. He gets blown up on a rocket ship. His arm blows up, and he gets. That's it. Like, and it's supposed to add like this level of like drama to Captain America, like this tragedy happens, but it felt so manufactured to me. Like it wasn't the way, like it doesn't add anything the way it was like if Superman's planet blows up or Batman's parents are killed
Yeah.
to add that drama to the or tragedy to the character.
Yeah.
I just felt like it's sad, but he's a casualty of war, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was
What
just
you
about to say
expect.
that.
So it just felt flat to me, and then they bring him back, and yeah, I understand why Captain America would be upset that his friend came back as a fucked up bad guy with like that's brainwashed, but I don't feel like the the connection they tell us he has when they finally do bring him back, whether it's the movies or the comics, I never felt genuine to me. It's just like they needed an idea for a story, so they were like, "We'll bring him back and see where it goes from here," I guess. And I think I just don't think it was.
I think his resurrection is definitely more interesting than his how it
Anything else about
started.
it.
But
Right.
I agree, a boring character overall. Yeah. My next one, PJ. I think you might have this person on your list. Actually, it makes this. I hate this character so much. I have a hard time watching the movie. It's Willie Scott from Temple of Doom, which is by Kate, Kate Capshaw plays Willie Scott. So she's the blonde in the film, and for me, she's just. I like Short Round. I know I didn't put him on the best list. Some is an honorable mention, but for her, I guess you want to call her a sidekick. I don't know, but I found her unbearable. Her voice and the whole romantic thing just didn't work for me. It gave me a headache. And she has to follow. That's one of the things I was saying. I think she's a good actress from what I know. I know her whole filmography, but she's not a bad actress. But it just shows you how much performance and writing can really make or break a character. And that one, bad, man. I just think of like them in that raft. Oh my god! Or even the beginning, like she's screaming. I think with is usually getting the monkey brains. I'm trying to think. It's been so long. I feel like. Ugh.
The problem with her is also she's following what's her face, whose name escapes me, who is such a well liked character.
Yeah.
And then you drop this girl, and you're like, it doesn't do it for me. It just feels like a bad replacement character.
Yep. Just lame. I don't think you really even need her.
No, she doesn't add much to the movie.
Nope. But yeah, it's truly one of the worst. And like you said, unnecessary. What else you got, PJ?
I have a twofer because, in my opinion, it's almost the same exact character, just in two different TV shows. And I don't know if you'll have one of these or you won't, but in He-Man, Masters of the Universe, is Orko. Orko is the guy that wears like the red robe. You doesn't see his face. He's got the big oversized wizard hat. Yeah. And then I also put in from Thundercats. Like they're in the same sort of bucket for me. Snarf.
I hate him. I hate Snarf.
Yeah, I feel like they both serve that same purpose.
I never understood why they I get why they create these characters. At the same time, I don't know if it's something just to appease parents. Like, oh, it's just a kid show. Because I know back then things were like, oh, that's too violent.
That's what it feels like. They needed an overly childish goof character to I don't know, for kids to connect with. I don't know, but you watch He-Man and you watch Thundercats, and it's really about these larger than life either people or cats like fighting villains with swords, and there's armor, and there's tanks, and there's all this shit going on, and then there's Snarf, and there's Orko, and you're like, well, it doesn't fit what the rest is going on here. I don't need comic relief, like a comedy relief moment in this show.
Yeah.
That's not the point of the show. I want the badass action with all these warriors fighting, and then it's undercut by goofy characters, and I think I put them together just because I feel like they're basically the same character in just two different universes.
Yeah. No, for sure. Especially Snarf, man. I always wanted him to fight Papa Smurf. I don't know why. They're like, I don't know why. I think they would have a good fight. For my next one, I hate this movie. I think we put it in our list of worst like DC Marvel films, all that stuff. It's Rick Flag from Suicide Squad. Either the first one, the second one.
You're not a fan.
I don't like that actor. I don't like his acting in it. I don't care what it is in the comic books, but that movie, man, every time a lot of things I hate about that movie. That's he's mainly one of the ones I hate most. I just hate his character, the way his tone of his voice. I mean, he's a little bit more bearable in the second one or the reboot, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Well,
But
the
I
reboot
hate.
is so much better than the first one,
Oh yeah, no question.
just in general, so it makes it better.
I still hate his character.
I don't think you've
I
seen
think
the
he.
last of him. I think they're bringing him back again.
Oh God. Okay.
Get ready. There's
Hopefully,
more Rick Flag in your future.
hopefully it's a different actor. So, but yeah, I can't stand that guy, man. Ugh, makes me want to vomit. Especially when he's doing the introductions, where it's like that one. She's like the Asian. She has a katana and all that stuff. She's like
Yeah.
just the. I mean, look, it's bad writing, man. No one could have saved that movie, but just I want to be like, yo, man, like she has the sword of 1,000 souls or something. It's like, man, damn.
Yeah, I mean, those movies were fucked from the beginning, especially the
Yeah.
first. And the second one, I think if the first time we saw that character was the second one, he wouldn't be as
Yes.
intolerable as he is. But
Yeah.
the first one being so bad and him adding nothing to it,
Mm-hmm.
really. And almost like
That's
he didn't want to be there when you watch the movie. It's like he's so, like, disconnected
right.
from everything that's happening. Like, do you want to be in this movie, guy? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I think. Well, I'll say this now. I have in my thing. I just can't imagine like when you're in the editing room or even making a film. Like, I wonder what they say. Like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? Like, we have this character. We can't fire them. They're under contract, maybe, or whatever. Like, what are we gonna do? I got to make the studio happen. We need a fun, dumb character here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that must be. Oh man, so deflating. um.
I have another one that
Yeah.
you may have on your list, you may not. Back in Star Wars, back in the galaxy far, far away. I hate to pile on because
Yeah.
the actor has so many struggles since being in this movie. But Jar Jar Binks.
Yep, he's on my list. I was kind of saving him for like some of the best, but I put him on here too. He probably is. But now I think he's been dethroned as the most hated character, and I'll say who it is, and it's in Star Wars. But folks, folks, check out our Star Wars episode. It's one of our early episodes where we rank them, and for me, I put Episode 1 actually fourth best. Because I really think Episode 1 is totally underrated. I think it's better than all the other films. But anyway, even though Jar Jar Binks is completely annoying in that film, like you said, I think I have such a soft spot for him now because I feel bad for the actor,
Me too. I feel
And
Ahmed Best is.
yeah, and
That's his name, right? Is it Ahmed? I think
yes,
that's his name. Yeah.
good memory. But I think the other part that makes me feel I kind of like him now as a character. I'm sure you see all the Dark Lord memes.
Oh
It's
yeah,
really like,
yeah.
yes,
That's great. Darth Jar Jar.
Yeah. I mean, that to me has say with that character though. I remember like I didn't love Episode 1. Like I said, I still stand by my choice. I still think it's
It aged better than people expected it to.
yes. Out of all the other prequels,
all the prequels have aged better than.
And
I think the prequels, by comparison, look way better now after we've seen the sequels.
Oh my god,
The
the
prequels
sequels, right? The sequels, I guess I wanted the whole Star Wars thing right here, but as we said, the sequels are they technically better made films? To it, I'm generalizing here to a degree, yes. But the prequel still has something way over than the sequel has.
Yeah.
It's not a reboot. It's
Exactly.
its own thing, and I still think Episode 1, not definitely totally flawed, but having Jar Jar Binks, man, I want to be like George Lucas when you were in the editing room. Even if you changed his voice, and just made it like not like stupid, like basically like a Donald Duck's cousin. You just could have made a different voice.
Like did it have to be so goofy?
Yeah, exactly. You could still make him being a knucklehead and tripping over his own feet and all that crap. But,
right.
Man,
didn't have to be as annoying. I think if he wasn't as annoying, that would have helped.
Yeah, but yeah, I had Mr. Jar Jar Binks on there. But PJ, the person who I think dethroned as the most hated character, in Star Wars, it's not Dexter Jester. And it's not Rey Skywalker. I think she's definitely she's close to maybe I think her name is Rose Tico. I think
Oh no,
she's gotta be the most gotta be, man. I mean, you can't even give away those toys for free. You can leave. People want Jar Jar. People don't want hers at all, man.
I feel bad for her too, though. She also has had.
Yeah, this isn't. I'm not hating the actress as a.
No, I know. I just like the characters are so terrible that it like ruin these people's careers and their lives.
Yeah. Yeah, that poor girl. Well, she does. I know she did a voice for one of the Disney movies. She was like some kind of, and it was like a hit. I forgot, some kind of something with the dragon or something like that. Raya and the Dragon or something. But yeah, I definitely think Rose Tico now is the most hated character in Star Wars. I think she just kind of represents everything that
I think
went
it just
wrong.
represents everything that was wrong with those movies. And
Yeah, kind of, kind of like Jar Jar Binks is for the
yeah.
He is the poster boy for that. Mm-hmm.
You know, the difference too is also that they were for Ahmed Best. They've, as an actor, they've tried to make it up to him, right? And they made him a Jedi in the. And
Right.
I forget which series it was. One of those, whether it was the Mandalorian or whatever. They had him as in other TV shows and stuff, and they've given him a second bite at the apple to be part of Star Wars and not be hated. And you could do that because Jar Jar's a cartoon character.
Right.
You can't save the lady who played Rose Tico.
Yeah, you can't save her.
You can't save her. Yeah, her
No
face
way.
is right out there being hated, and it's
right.
The character is awful. There's nothing you can do about it. The character is awful.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Oof. Mm-hmm. PJ, I also put on here. I think you might agree with this. We weren't big fans of this trilogy, The Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
You know, and those are good films. I'm not gonna say they're bad. They're good. I never turned PJ on. I think PJ. I'm not really sure. You're always into more of the sci-fi kind of realm.
Yep.
But I do like fantasy films. I love Harry Potter. I love Excalibur. I like all that crap. You know, like Dragonheart. All those kind of fantasy films. I dig it. But I love this actor, but I hated his character. Is Sam.
Samwise Gamgee. Yeah.
Terrible. Oh my god! I just felt he was just so corny, like butt kissing. Oh, Mr. Frodo. This I just felt like, I don't know. It's just like. It was so corny and cheesy. It just made my skin crawl. Like, here's a great actor. I love that guy.
My feelings on that whole entire trilogy is that it's a whole lot of nothing happening. They look great.
I never understood it. Cool, I never understood it. I never really understood who is Sauron. Is the villain the guy with the long white hair, or is it that thing in the sky? That's just one being? Is he part of that? I never understood that.
Yeah,
I might sound really dumb right now.
I'm with you. I don't.
Maybe I just don't care enough to.
I think Sauron's the bad guy, and the thing in the sky is the eye of Sauron.
Oh, okay.
Sauron's the bad guy.
Oh, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah, never turned me on, man. Just did nothing for me.
Yeah. I have
actually
one
last thing with that guy Sam. Remember? Have you seen the last Lord of the Rings though? Have you seen them all? Remember when? Actually, my favorite character of the film was actually Gollum. You know, and I always wanted Sam and Frodo to fall in the volcano, and not him. But well, your next choice, Mr. PJ.
This is the last one I have on my list, and it could be a controversial pick.
Oh.
Because it's a movie we love.
We've
spoken so highly about this. We have spoken so highly about this movie so many times in so many episodes that it's tough to pick something that we don't like out of it.
Yeah.
I cannot stand John Connor in Terminator 2.
What? In Terminator 2?
I hate that kid.
Wow.
I hate it.
Really?
And it goes back to me not liking kids in these roles, I guess.
Right, but I never felt him annoying. He's not
annoys the shit out of me.
Really?
I was rooting for them to kill that kid.
Really?
I wanted T-1000 to come with his his liquid metal arm and just stab that kid straight in the face.
Wow. See, he doesn't bother me. Something more I don't even know his character. It wasn't even worth for me being put on the list. Last Action Hero, because that was really good comedy.
Oh, that kid's annoying too. Yeah.
Or even the kids in Jurassic Park. I mean, they weren't really. I know that towards the end of the film, they start. That one girl can hack into the computer mainframe of a amusement park.
But his character being in this movie as a child, we could have sent him back in time to any time period.
Yeah, I know.
Right. So if you're sending him back to the point when he's this annoying ass punk kid, why wouldn't you just go back to when he was a baby and just kill him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to me, we should have done that. We wouldn't have had that kid. I find him so irritating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I understand the plot. He's a plot device. He's not a character. He's a plot device. Mm-hmm. But he's technically Terminator's sidekick. And I kind of like my Terminator a little more evil than he is in that movie because he's really just
Yeah.
a toy for this kid. I don't know.
Right. No, I know what you're saying. You make fair points. I disagree. I don't think he's one of the worst, but
Hate his guts because he's a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, we're putting kids in these situations where it feels good.
Yes. Well, the other one is one of the I know as I hate the movie so much. For me, it's like who are the true ones who are awful and anyway, this character in the new Predator film, it was called The Predator.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid's he has which is fun. He has autism. He's able to break an alien code. It was so cringy. That whole movie, I can't really call him a bad character, but yeah, anytime I see a kid introduced, as soon as I saw him in the trailer, I was like, that movie's gonna blow.
Yep.
I didn't like the tone of that trailer, but once I saw him, I'm like, like we said, when we see a kid enter, it's gonna be.
It's already bad. It's already bad. There's already
there's like a 90% chance it's gonna be bad.
Yep.
Or the movie's just gonna be the tone of the movie's gonna change. But PJ, I think you will agree with me. The absolute worst sidekick of all time.
Okay.
This is in a film, no question. In my opinion, I hate this character. Mm-hmm. In the movie Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone, Rob Schneider's Fergie. How annoying!
Very annoying.
His character. I mean, as soon as that first. 15 minutes of that thing. It's like a regular action movie, comic book action movie. And as soon as they introduce Rob Schneider's character, the tone of that movie just changes. Him he's making fun of Stallone, oh, I am the law. Well, not you're not. And they're running around. There's they're trying to sneak back into the city, and there's fire, and all of a sudden it turns into to this. I can't believe Stallone still did that kind of film. Imagine I don't know if you saw the remake.
I did. The remake's great.
It's awesome. Could you imagine if he was in it in that kind of tone, of the film? But for me, Rob Schneider's character in that film just totally brings the entire film down. It just kills the whole momentum. Because before that, like I said, I can't remember. I'm trying to recall, but I know at one point the transport plane crashes. And they meet those cannibal melted nuclear, Holocaust survivor, weird people thingy, and I can't remember if Rob Schneider's with them at that point, but the whole, like I said, that whole first 15, 20 minutes, whatever, is cool, and then as soon as those two team up together,
it's like they felt like they needed to add comic relief to a movie that didn't need comic relief.
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone can pull that off. He has the one-liners that can. Do that kind of charm. So, but for me, I think he's the absolute worst.
He's bad at almost everything. So
yeah, and I took a note down because I was like, okay, when did this movie come out? So Judge Dredd came out in 1995. Okay, now Sylvester Stallone was also with Rob Schneider in another film that came out 2 years earlier, Demolition Man. But he wasn't really. He was just a side.
He wasn't a big part of that. Though.
But I'm saying, what did he? Hey, this guy might be pretty good. Yeah, I think I might team up with him. You know what I mean?
Maybe they just became friends, and he just gave this guy a part in the movie because they were friends.
Right. I think. Yeah. If you had a time machine, I think if you're gonna keep Judge Dredd and have a comic relief character, you have maybe a female would work, kind of thing. Kind of like you did with Sandra Bullock in Demolition Man. But yeah, I think Rob Schneider's character is absolute horrendous. And actually, speaking of Sandra Bullock, I put it in one of my notes. Let me just go back. Did you know that originally Ellen DeGeneres tried out for Speed? Could you imagine?
Not. Oh my god, that would terrible.
Oh my god, that's what I'm saying. See, folks, how casting is. I can really change the tone of a film. Could you imagine Keanu Reeves with her? It would have turned into a Three Stooges thing, Oh my god. But but he's that character, Rob Schneider, Fergie in Judge Dredd is definitely by far the worst sidekick of all time.
Yeah, not a great character by any stretch.
Mm-hmm. So, folks, we're going to do between our choices, between our picks, our top 5 best and top 5 worst. All right. PJ, you want to start with the positives?
You want to start? We can start with the positives. Okay. I think our number one is set in stone. Yep. Right? I think Robin, the Boy Wonder, is number one.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Chewie would be number 2?
I absolutely think Chewie is number 2.
Okay, now this is where I think with this it's always 1 and 2 is always easy.
Always easy.
It's the other ones where it starts getting tricky. So
I kind of like your pick of the genie.
Okay.
I think
I'm gonna put it to the side right now because we gotta figure out. We'll wind up because we got Genie. You know, I was gonna say even Donkey.
Yeah, Donkey is a solid choice.
Mm-hmm.
Who else did we have on there?
Mm-hmm. I think for me, if I had to pick my other choices, if I had to pick 2 more from mine, would be oh my God, Robin Quivers. Jesse Pinkman, you know, from mine.
I can't speak to the Jesse Pinkman because I never watched the show.
Okay.
I think from my list, I would definitely put Donkey on there somewhere.
Yep.
And I definitely think Genie should be on there somewhere. So I'm good with those two finding their way to the top 5. And I could be good with Robin Quivers.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so maybe do Robin Quivers at number 5.
Okay.
And then,
Or do we think that George Costanza is more important as sidekicks than Donkey or Genie?
Oh man, this is where it's getting tough, folks.
That's the question.
But part of me feels even George is really great. I feel like he's not he's part of that cast. He's part of that whole crew of wax. So we might have to just boil it down to Genie and Donkey.
Okay. So we have 1 is Robin. 2
Chewbacca.
is Chewie.
Mm-hmm.
3 Donkey or Genie. You know what? Is it Donkey because he's had more movies? More staying power.
I think you have to go Donkey. I think you do.
Okay.
Not because he was more movies. Almost feel in a strange way, he feels more of like a sidekick. You know.
Right.
Between those 2. You know.
Right. Okay.
And I think we'll just do Genie and then Robin at the end. Robin Quivers at the end.
Works for me.
All right. Mm-hmm. That's a great list. Okay. Whew. All right. So right off the bat, I know we got to put Scrappy Doo somewhere in there.
Scrappy Doo is definitely on that list.
I think we got to put Jar Jar Binks, man.
Yeah,
you know?
He's definitely on there somewhere. I think Rob Schneider finds his way into this list.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. I think Bucky's actually pretty good, man.
But I think Bucky deserves on the list only because when you think sidekicks, I feel like for most people you immediately think comic book characters. Yeah. And so Bucky represents the worst of the comic book characters. So I think he winds up on the list for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then what about who else do you have on your list? I feel like none of mine are really true awful. I mean, maybe the woman from Temple of Doom, but
well, let's do this. Do we think that Scrappy is the absolute worst? Just we can't stand him.
Yeah, I think we should put Scrappy
there. So Scrappy can be
number 1. Because about his character, he was never needed. You know what I mean? All the other characters you could play. Okay, maybe they do need
he's annoying and not
sidekick,
adds nothing.
Right. Like Scooby-Doo is a sidekick.
Right. He's the sidekick.
He's a sidekick of a sidekick. So.
All right. So Scrappy's number 1. I think we say Bucky is number 2.
Wow. Okay.
I think Bucky, like I said, just because comic book sidekicks are the traditional sidekicks.
Right.
We get those 2 out of the way. Mm-hmm. All right. Now.
I think you would have to put Jar Jar, man, because this guy was this guy was America's most wanted.
He really
man.
was the most
He was like
hated
dude, man.
So we put Jar Jar at 3.
Right. Now we're down to our last 2 picks. So we have Rob Schneider's character in Judge Dredd.
Okay.
Or
I could see him definitely making the top 5 or bottom 5, however you want to call it. I don't know if Snarf Snarf is pretty terrible and Orko's pretty terrible, but are they the worst of the worst?
I know.
Are they the worst or
I don't know. Like I said, I have Rick Flag left, Sam from Lord of the Rings.
I think Sam from Lord of the Rings makes it onto this list.
Okay.
He's 100%. He could be number 4 or 5.
I think in fairness, I think she go number 5.
Okay.
You know, so.
So are we putting Schneider in at 4?
Yeah. from Judge Dredd. Yep. Oh my God. Woo. So yeah, folks, to kind of do it round it out. So the worst is number 1, Scrappy Doo. Number 2, Bucky from Captain America. Jar Jar Binks from Star Wars. Rob Schneider's character from Judge Dredd. And number 5 is Sam Wise from Lord of the Rings. Woo! Man.
Terrible characters. 5 terrible characters. I mean, just...
You know, like, you remember those like things like those after school shows where they would have them like, remember like Disney Afternoon, and they would do like a special, like a drug special. They would all hang out somehow. They'd all like team up. Could you imagine all these characters, like all these worst characters,
just
like all together? I mean, talk about
just the
torture.
cringy. It would be so cringe.
Could you imagine that?
The problem with the sidekick is that if they're not really strong and really good in that role, it brings the whole story down.
Yeah.
Because they get so much time. That's why someone like Robin or Donkey or whatever, they're so important because they're there the entire time. They're getting just as much screen time as the main guy because he's right next to the main guy. Yeah. If they suck, it makes the whole thing suck.
Right, and like you said, in terms of screen time, they might be comparable. Like a Jar Jar Binks might have the most exact same screen time. Let's say as the Chewbacca. Let's say, in terms of minutes, they're both in 20 minutes within the film. Yeah, it just doesn't feel like they're in the film for like an hour when they're in it.
Because they're so cringy. Just it feels like
it's
everything
incredible
is
how
so
that is.
long. Just watching.
It's incredible. Oh my heavens. But I think. It was like a South Park today. I learned something. I learned that creating a good sidekick is really, really hard. To pull off, I should say. To pull off is really hard.
Really is.
2 last things I just reminded myself, PJ. I think just another honorable mention, it would be Timothy from Dumbo. That was a little mouse that helps Dumbo. Yeah. He's one of the best, but he's in our top 5. But he's And for folks who are listening and they're not watching on YouTube, I actually have a poster of Sidekicks the movie with Chuck Norris. I just remember that movie as a kid. And I think this is gonna be a whole other subject, but like it's amazing when you're a kid, like you don't notice things are bad unless they're really bad, like like a snarf, or a Scrappy Doo. But I remember this movie enjoying it, because I think, oh man, you mean Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee and Walker Texas Ranger and all that crap. But looking back, that movie's bad. But I remember watching that with my brother, like, oh man, Chuck Norris, man, he's like an imaginary friend or something. But woo.
I have one more honorable mention for good sidekicks.
Okay.
And I didn't put him on my list because I didn't know if this character really fit the bill of sidekick or if he's just a side character.
Yes, I was running into that issue.
Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's not really Superman's sidekick.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He's not going really on adventures with Superman, but I feel like that character is one that has stood the test of time and still shows up in comics, and movies, and TV shows because he does add something to that universe.
I think in terms of honorable mentions, he might be the best one ever, like you just said. Like you said, a side character, but he's just on the precipice of being one. So, that's a good choice, too. Mm-hmm. So, folks, thanks for listening. Same time, same table.
Holy rusted metal, Batman. The best part of that movie. Have a good one, kids.
Boys and girls, lunchtime is over. For more information, visit their website at coolkidslunchtable.podbean.com. Follow the boys on all social media platforms. Just search Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast. Now get to class before you get detention.